It was supposed to be a quiet Sunday. The kind where the morning sun filters softly through the blinds, coffee brews in the kitchen, and the neighborhood hums with stillness. That's how it began for us, peaceful, ordinary. But that illusion shattered the moment a knock came at the door, sharp and demanding. By the end of the day, a man would be in handcuffs, a gun would be on the ground, and everyone in our neighborhood would know the truth about my daughter, the truth she never flaunted, but one they'll never forget again. Our family had only lived in the neighborhood for 6 months. It was a gated community, tucked into a quiet suburb, managed by an overly ambitious homeowners association, the kind that measured grass height and counted how many times your garbage bin stayed out past noon. We knew the rules. We tried to follow them. But some people don't want rule followers, they want people to obey. And the man who knocked on our door that morning, a man named Barry, was exactly that kind of person. Barry was the self-appointed chief enforcer of the HOA. He didn't have a badge, but he sure acted like he did. Walked around with a clipboard, mirrored sunglasses, a puffed-up chest, and the attitude of a man with too much time and too little power. Everyone in the neighborhood knew him, and not in a good way. He fined a woman $50 for having pink flamingo decorations. He called towing on a neighbor for parking 2 inches over the line. And now, he had a problem with our mailbox, yes, the mailbox. Apparently, the post was 2 inches too tall according to HOA standards. We'd inherited it from the previous owners. No one had ever said a word. But now Barry was at our door, tapping his clipboard, demanding immediate compliance. My daughter, Emily, answered the door. She was home visiting for the weekend, her first break in months. Most people looking at her wouldn't think twice. Athletic, yes. Sharp-eyed, calm, and polite. But what they wouldn't know, what Barry was about to learn the hard way, was that Emily was no ordinary woman. She trained Navy SEALs. Literally. She was a combat fitness and tactical instructor contracted by the Department of Defense. She taught warriors how to move, fight, survive, and dominate under pressure. But Emily didn't walk around boasting. She didn't need to. Her presence spoke for itself, if you were smart enough to listen. Barry wasn't. When she opened the door, he barely looked her in the eye. "I'm here about the mailbox," he barked. "It violates Code 14B. It needs to be lowered today or you'll be fined." Emily stayed calm. "Sir, I understand, but we just moved in a few months ago and weren't notified. If there's an issue, we're happy to work with the HOA to fix it properly." Barry sneered. "Don't try to play smart. You've got until 5 p.m. Or I'll handle it myself." "Sir, that sounds like a threat," she said, her voice firm but even. Barry stepped closer. "What did you just say?" "You threatened to handle it yourself. That implies destruction of property." Barry's hand moved to his belt. Not a badge, but a holster. A real one. In full view. My heart nearly stopped from the living room. "Let me make something clear," he growled, gripping the butt of his pistol. "I don't like being challenged." Before I could move, before I could even shout, Emily did something so fast I almost didn't see it. In one clean, fluid motion, she stepped aside, grabbed Barry's wrist, twisted his arm behind his back, and slammed him gently but firmly against the porch railing, all while disarming him. His gun was now in her hand. The safety was on. He gasped. "What the hell?" Emily leaned in, her voice calm as ever. "Rule number 1 when carrying a weapon, never reach for it unless you're ready to face the consequences. And never pull it on someone unless you know who you're dealing with." Barry struggled, but she held him in place effortlessly. By now, neighbors had come outside. Phones were up. Cameras rolling. The neighborhood enforcer, on his knees, restrained by a woman he just tried to intimidate with a weapon. I stepped outside. "Emily, call the police." She already had her phone out with one hand, the other still calmly controlling the man who thought he could threaten her. When the police arrived, they saw the scene and knew something serious had gone down. Emily immediately handed over the gun, unloaded and safe, and explained everything with precise clarity. She cited self-defense, listed her credentials, and referenced the HOA's previous warnings. Barry, red-faced and shaking, sputtered accusations. "She attacked me. She assaulted me." The officer raised an eyebrow. "Sir, 3 witnesses say you reached for your weapon during a non-violent conversation. That's brandishing. That's a felony. I was just trying to get compliance." "You don't enforce compliance with a firearm," the officer snapped. They cuffed him and led him to the squad car. He screamed the whole time about how he was just doing his job. No one believed him. No one defended him. Not even the HOA board. Turns out, Barry had been warned multiple times about overstepping. Complaints had been filed. People were afraid to come forward. But Emily's calm, decisive action exposed the truth. The story made the local news. HOA enforcer draws gun on resident, overpowered by female Navy SEAL instructor. The headline alone broke the internet. News anchors couldn't get enough of it. Emily refused interviews. She didn't want the spotlight, but her story inspired countless people. Women wrote letters saying they enrolled in self-defense classes because of her. Veterans reached out thanking her for representing their values. And Barry? He lost everything. The HOA board formally removed him. A restraining order was placed. His weapons permit was revoked. And a civil case followed, several, in fact. What started as a petty power trip ended with a man exposed, a neighborhood empowered, and a quiet hero finally recognized for who she truly was. Weeks later, as Emily packed her things to return to base, I sat with her in the kitchen. "You didn't even blink," I said. She smiled. "He was loud, but not dangerous." "Not really. People like him, they're used to fear. Not strength." I asked her if she ever gets scared. She thought for a moment. "Fear's normal. But panic? Panic gets you hurt. I've trained to stay calm under pressure. That's what I teach, not just fighting, but staying in control. Owning the moment." And she did. That day, on our front porch, she owned the moment in a way none of us will forget. Because you never really know who someone is just by looking at them. And if you think power comes from a badge or a gun, well, you've never met someone like my daughter.